There we go. Welcome to the Choose on Purpose podcast, where leaders live with intention. And today is a Wow series episode, which is the wisdom of women. And specifically, I have my friend Erin here who is going to share her wisdom. Hi, Erin.
Hello.
Okay, so I know this episode is going to be an inspiring conversation for Erin and I, because we're going to be talking all things embracing change, prioritizing creativity, growing into the life that we desire. And I want to just start by saying that Erin and I, we live pretty close to each other. We're in the same area, which isn't always the case for the ladies that I get to bring on to share their wisdom. So Erin and I have known each other for, I don't know, about 2.5 years, I think now, Erin.
Yeah, I was thinking about that right before hopping on. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
been on retreats together, different adventures. Feel like whenever Becky's inviting me to something, it's going to be a good time. It'll be a great experience.
That's why we're here. That's
Yeah,
exactly why we're here
that's
today.
how I'm here today, people. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, 2.5 years ago, yeah, we met at a women's connection company event, which is one of the ways that we stay connected. Erin's also has joined the Work on Purpose, the Purpose community, which is a virtual space that we get to connect often into, well, weekly at least, in there. So yeah, retreats, lunches, we get to do all that stuff. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I'm an in-person person. So I want to meet every single person in person to be able to give you a heart hug. But I do get to do that with Erin. So this is extra special. So Erin, I would love to ask you to share a little bit about yourself and why you're excited to be here today.
Yeah, well, thank you, Becky, for having me. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to be on the Choose on Purpose podcast. I am a wife. I'll be married 2 years in August. That is wild. I think I will still continue to tell people I'm a newlywed, like years into this adventure. I'm a dog mom to a golden doodle and Springer Spaniel, so lots of energy and excitement in my home. Professionally, I work one-on-one with kids and have found really that using creativity is like the center of what I do. Creativity helps them deal with their emotions and just navigating life. And so it's super fun that kind of my inner child gets to come out when I'm at work and support them, support young minds. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm excited to dive into this more with you.
Yes, I love when Erin is like, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
just a little bit about me," but there's so much there.
Yeah.
So when I was talking with Erin about coming on to share on the podcast, she was like, "Do you have any ideas?" And I like gave her a whole list of ideas. I was like, "This woman is amazing." I always just light up when Erin's in the room because she has the courage to speak up and like say the quirky things, ask her questions, and just dive in. So, Erin, I know this is going to be super fun. And, you always talk a little bit about like gardening and planting seeds. And I know this is really the theme kind of that the last retreat we were at kind of came through for you to take hold of. So, nurturing those seeds of truth for you and growing in your life, with this dynamic of being a newlier wed. And so what does nurturing seeds of truth really mean for you personally?
Yeah, so going into 2025, I set kind of four main intentions, and one of them was to be a woman in the Word of God, pursue Him
Mm,
daily. In my life, personally, professionally, there's a lot of change and transition, and so
yeah.
um, seeking out the wisdom of other women, God's Word, how can I practically live that out in my life? Has been this journey that I've been on. And it's been really cool to see how the Lord's brought different friendships into my life and just giving me a hunger for like seeking Him, especially as a young woman and in all the things, right? Because it matters both at home, at work. Um, yeah. So that has been kind of how I've nurtured those. And also too, just looking at throughout my 20s, different women who have kind of planted those seeds in my own life,
Mm,
and then really having a passion to do that for other women in my life, which is why I love that you made this a focus, like the Wisdom of Women series.
yeah.
Super cool.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love that you set some, clear foundations for yourself, foundational like paths. You said specifically four, and I talk all the time on the podcast about really specific, like actionable things. So that's a key thing that I want to just pull out, and how Erin just really nonchalantly talks about how this is what she did, but it's so critical for us to have that guide for ourselves to be able to nurture them, right? Because if we aren't aware of the things that we want in our life and the things that we desire to actually nurture and grow, I mean, how are we even going to get there? Right? Like, if we're not actually aware of it, we'll just end up wherever we end up because we haven't actually set some sights on some targets to hit, so to say, right? So I love that. So, so Erin, can you share a pivotal moment in your life where embracing truth has changed your path for the good?
Yeah, I would say for sure having a sense of truth, like it helps me have the right mindset when going about my week and like how
Mm,
I'm investing my time and energy. And one of the things that I am wanting to incorporate more throughout this year is the concept of having like unplugged hours where I'm doing activities that are creative. So I think you've seen this, Becky, firsthand. Like, I've come on calls doing diamond dots. I'm learning how to crochet, coloring, all these things that prep the last time I did it was 10 years ago. But it's brought me a lot of joy and clarity,
mm,
because engaging in those, and I think that there's science behind it when we're using our hands. Um,
yeah,
that it almost like releases different hormones in our bodies, which is why I think women enjoy like cooking, gardening, baking, all those things. And yeah, that's definitely something that I want to incorporate throughout this year. And I think there's a lot of truth in resting and um, spending time alone and with others, right? The people who are right in front of us.
yeah. I love all the examples that you verbalized, which I know that I see these in the action hours when you come in and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And I love being around people like Erin that inspire us to remember how important that is, to slow down, to take the time to do the creative things, to, really make room for hobbies, right? Like, to give the opportunity to slow down and just do something that's, fun or challenging in a different way than like our work life and the things that, we're focused on specifically for our goals, that actually frees up so much. And I love that you bring up the science. I don't know the exact science either, but I know that but you know, there's a connection between our head and our hand and our heart and like doing the things, because I talk about that with even just writing things out with pen to paper, um, for the think tank and stuff. Like, that's one of the things that I always highlight in my time, is how important it is to get that connection flowing and doing stuff with your hands. There's definitely science behind that and the benefits that come from, that movement and that connection with our mind and our actions. So yeah, love that. I don't know how you do the diamond art stuff. I keep hearing more and more people doing that. And I'm always like, you must be so patient. I had one of my past photography clients Snapchat me the other day about her diamond art picture that she did. I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's so amazing. Every time I see people complete those complete projects, right? It's one thing to like dabble in stuff and not complete it. And I know that you finish your projects. And that's another thing, Erin. I know that you and your husband are doing like projects around the house too, like there's the creativity and like building your home. Ugh, all of that. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, okay, so a funny story for
Yeah,
everyone. My husband came to me and he's like, Erin, I want to have a swing in our backyard that can fit adults. And so last summer, he got the materials, built this swing together, and just seeing the joy that came from him coming home from work and going on his swing. So I'm standing in the kitchen watching him, swing, and it's like he's a little kid again. But I think having those things, it allows us to kind of tap into the different parts of ourselves
for sure.
and just to incorporate like play, enjoy into our, everyday mundane tasks. So that was just
Yes.
really fun. And we look forward to putting it out hopefully as soon as the spring weather comes. The swing will be back,
Yes.
a hammock will be out. Like we're looking
Mm,
forward to those uh,
yeah. I love
things.
that. It goes hand in hand with the conversation we were just having recently in the community also, in a book study, which was talking about, worrying less and that feeling of carefree, which I think really goes hand in hand with what you're talking about, like being playful and just for being that creative zone. It's like just being more carefree and the momentum that we build when we allow ourselves to truly unplug from the things that maybe we feel like we have to do or we need to keep building momentum around, but letting ourselves be more carefree and playful, it actually serves us in a very unique way that we don't tend to give it enough attention and celebration about how much movement really happens in those moments. So I love that. I love that. I love every time you share about like your creative things that you're doing or show us a project. I'm just like such a reminder to just take the time to do those things, even though my mind might tell me that I don't have time to do it. We have time to do the things, even just 10 minutes at a time. Getting into those creative spaces is definitely a truth that I think is hidden a lot from us as a busy society.
Mhm.
So good. Okay. So, Erin, how do you actually identify more of the things that no longer serve you, right? Like, we're talking a lot about the good things and like having space for the things that fuel us, but like, how do you identify when things aren't serving you any longer and take a step toward that something new, something more for you?
Yeah, so one of the things I've been reflecting on just in my day-to-day like schedule and calendar,
Yeah.
thinking about are there moments in the day where I'm not looking forward to that time of the day, right? Like the things that are not working. And I think as
Mm,
women, we can get stuck in these rhythms of like, well, this is how it's always been done. And then we realize that it's not working for us personally, or we need to change that rhythm. So like one of the things I've done or was frustrating to me was like meal prep and meal planning, right?
mm,
One of the things that I've done was kind of surprise myself, like getting into making freezer meals
yeah.
because there's only two of us, like we don't have kids. And so um, I found though, making freezer meals, it makes the dinners throughout the week a lot less stressful because we both get home from work and it's done like in the crock pot or I've already thought about it. And it has made a big difference into how we both feel coming home at the end of the day and just having that rhythm. So that's another way, thinking creatively. But a few before I started doing this, that time that we both got home from work, like it was just stressful and neither one of us wanted to make dinner and all the things. And so I had to rethink that rhythm.
Yeah. I love that because everybody has to eat. So,
Right. Right.
right?
It
Like
was like
it's
this
not
isn't
just,
going away, but we
yeah,
needed
it's
a
so much.
rhythm or something in place so that we're happy when we get home at the end of a long day. So,
And I really think about decision fatigue in this scenario, right, with food, because that was really what's happening in my house with my husband and I. Like, he doesn't have a problem cooking, but he doesn't want to have to also decide what the meal is and, everything else. So he's like, just tell me what we're eating. So, the prepping the meals has really sounds like it really has alleviated that stress, and it's really given you guys the opportunity to just like feel more prepared. And also, it eliminates the decision at the end of your day when you're like depleted. So, love that. Love that you point that out. Prepping those meals, that's huge. And then also, thank you for sharing, the self check-in. I think that's so, important for us to empower ourselves to just know, like, hey, take a minute to just make a note. Are you still looking forward to doing the thing that you committed to? Or now is it a should? Or is it now something that you feel like you have to do and you really don't want to? There could be something underlining that. So that just that self check-in and that awareness to really notice and look at that, after the fact, to just kind of keep track of how you're feeling about stuff. That's awesome. That's a great opportunity to just make some choices about doing it differently if that's really what will serve you best. That's huge. Okay, let's talk about cultivating creativity and new beginnings, because you definitely are a woman that does that often, and you've spoken about really making your creativity and living that way a priority. So why do you think that it's essential for personal and professional growth for you to do that?
Yeah, I think with creativity, for me, one of the areas I'm looking at is the idea of like creative wellness. And so as women, like how can we create rhythms where like we're prioritizing our well-being, right?
Yeah.
And how can I do both, right? Is it going for a walk and listening to a podcast? Or maybe I'm listening to a podcast as I'm coloring, right? So I'm kind of incorporating both and, using different sides of our brain too, the left
Mm,
versus the right. And there's a lot of benefits to that as well, with just making decisions and thinking both logically and emotionally, has helped provide a lot of clarity into next steps for sure.
I love that. Over here taking notes. Use the left and right side of your brain. I love that tip. Um, that's huge. And so, like, how do you encourage, like you said, you want to be someone that can, because you've had women speak life into you that are further ahead in life, and their visions, and you've soaked up that wisdom, and now you're like, yeah, I want to be able to do that more for women that are, coming up behind you as well. So how do you encourage women to rethink their vision and give themselves permission, right, to have that fresh start, to try something new, to step outside of what they've always maybe done and go get a new hobby or creative space? So, what do you think about that?
I would say to other women, like, allow yourself to be a beginner. I think frequently we think I have to have it all figured out and know the end result. I'm speaking to myself here as I'm talking.
Always, yeah.
And as I've gotten into projects, I'm amazed at what I've learned or maybe like taught myself how to do, but then also yeah, just the things that you discover about yourself in that process of either things that you love or maybe don't love. And I think that's valuable no matter what profession you're in, is to
Mm,
figure out like these are my strengths and this really lights me up. And then this is maybe a task that I could delegate to someone else, right? Because it doesn't bring me joy. And we need those people in our lives. And so I think that's what creativity has allowed me to do, is figure out what are my strengths and then what are areas where, I need someone else to come alongside me and support me in that.
mm. Thank you. I love that. So I'm taking notes, y'all. I hope you are taking notes. Because I'm over here taking some notes in my show notes too. Right? The reminder that being a beginner. I mean, this is such a simple reminder that we all can use every day, I feel like, because we get in these challenging situations where we think we need to know all of the answers to everything and that we should already know, right? That we need to have these abilities that just we haven't one discover them. Like that's what I heard you talking about is self-discovery, like being open to the self-discovery and really paying attention to, ooh, I didn't know that about myself. Like I really like doing this thing, or I really am not enjoying that. And maybe it's the day, but maybe it's that the task, the hobby, the thing is not for me. And learning your own strengths, like the power behind that. I love that you bring that up about, it's really about stepping into that more. When we find our strengths, we find our joy, like stay on that path until we find, it's no longer serving us and delegate the things that are outside of our strengths and gives that's someone else's strength. Like that's the biggest thing I think I've taken away over the years in my own growth journey is like choosing what is for me and then knowing that someone else is actually better for that thing. Like that's what we're here to do is like help one another, not just do everything ourselves. And that reminder of delegating is huge. So I'm thankful that you brought that up. Yeah, so good. Self-discovery and then let go of those things that aren't yours and give them to someone else.
Hmm.
Mm, so good, Erin. So good. Okay, so what role has creativity played in your own journey of creating the life that you love?
Yeah, so I would say currently, and obviously this is always evolving, but I have found a lot of joy in journaling and allowing myself to just reflect or get the thoughts down on paper. I've also been, you know, spending time unplugging, right? Doing something with my hands, fueling that creativity. And also knowing that as the seasons change, like the hobbies will change. Like I'm looking forward to creating a garden this summer. And so as soon as the weather cooperates, we will be building a raised garden. And so that will shift from what I've been spending, my winter hobbies doing.
Mm,
And so that's what also makes it really fun is having the different hobbies for each season and finding what brings me joy in those seasons, quite literally, with the weather and taking advantage of the sunshine.
I love that the seasonal hobbies. Like
Yeah.
Erin is very good at the seasonal hobbies. Like you talk about this all the time in OP. You're like, "Oh, I don't know how long I'll do this," but like you're very willing to just know that it doesn't have to be this is what it is and I'm staying in this box and I'm staying in this lane. Like you are so willing to try new things and say, "This is for this time. This is where I'm at right now and it could change and I'm okay with that too." But really tapping into what are those seasonal hobbies that bring you joy now because the same winter hobbies that you have this year may not serve you next year. They may not have served you last year because we're I love that you also started by saying it's always evolving because I mean it's true and I always talk about how I'm different than I was yesterday. Like I will be different from this conversation just moving forward, right? Like we have new awarenesses, like we are planting seeds in each other and everyone that's listening to hear like what's here for them. So in this season, what is really feeling alive for us matters and then being willing to just say like okay maybe that hobby is set down and maybe I won't pick it back up but it served its purpose in that regard I think.
Yeah. Well, and it brings me a lot of joy when I meet a woman for coffee and you can tell that she is just like walking authentically into what lights her up. And it may look
Mm,
totally different from what my life looks like, but
right.
that's okay. Um, but I think it's such a blessing, right? To meet women where they are and to create a life, they always say create a life you love. Well, the different puzzle pieces that make up my life
Mm,
are going to be different than the person sitting across from me. And so it, yeah, it's super cool to see. And I think we've all had those experiences where you sit and you listen to a woman's story and you're like, ah, this is amazing. Um, and just how all those different pieces fit together.
Hmm. I love that you say the puzzle of life. It always gives me such a good visual, and it's another creative hobby for anyone
Yep.
to remember. So fun. Okay, so let's talk about overcoming our setbacks and being able to grow through those challenges because we all have them. We all have them. And I wanted to ask you, Erin, like, what's one of the biggest challenges in stepping into the new season of life for you?
Yeah. So, whenever I am facing a setback or a challenge, even just the whole journey that it's been now that I'm married is like combining my life with someone else's. And
Yeah.
how are we going to create these like new rhythms and the life that we love together? And I think, seeking community and having people speak truth into our lives and into what has worked in their marriages have been a blessing. And being willing to, have those conversations because we're not meant to navigate this alone. And I think there can be a lot of joy and blessings when we're vulnerable and able to say, "Hey, I don't have this figured out, but who can I have speak truth into my own life?"
Mm, I love that. Okay, so what I love is vulnerability, highlighting the fact that it takes willingness to share, with when we have challenges, when we're, again, we don't know all the answers. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to be asking for
Hmm.
help. And this has been a personal challenge of my own, like asking for people's direct help has been one of the challenges. And I love that you keep using the word rhythm. I wanted to say that earlier and then I forgot, but now you said it again. I was like, yes, rhythm, like the rhythm of life and everything. Like, I just love that you keep using the word rhythm. It really speaks to your love for creative living. That just like every time you say it, I'm like, it feels so good. So wanted to highlight that too. So what what have you shared, you know, or let's see. Okay. Important growth for the community. Like, how do you seek out and nurture the relationships that align with your values? You mentioned, finding community, being able to open up and ask, being vulnerable. How have you been able to seek that out with your relationships to align with your own values?
Yeah. So I would say connecting one-on-one with other women who may be, um, a step further along in the journey, or even, they're a step behind. And, there's always going to be someone who, is a step ahead and a step behind you. And so balancing that of how can I, find discipleship with those that are in a different season of life, but then how can I mentor younger women? Because, you know, college students, like I look at the people that poured into me when I was a college student, and those needs are still there. And so,
Mhm.
how can I do both in my life and be an encouragement to them? Because we need that community and someone to shine a light and provide those perspectives.
Yeah. I love that. I love the understand like the taking hands front and back, like the understanding that we're all not even in what we're doing because we're all on our own journey, we're on our own path. And I even like to just highlight how it's not even just that people are younger than us because I surround myself with women that are older than me a lot. And I learned that at an early age that I really enjoy it because I want to soak up the wisdom, which obviously has played a part because now we're here talking on the Wisdom of Women series. It's always been a theme or a rhythm in my life to surround myself very knowingly with people they have more to say about something that I have no idea anything about, which makes me very curious, which taps into the creativity as well, right? Because we're leaning in, we're asking questions, we're willing to be a beginner. Like everything that you've been highlighting really goes back and ties in with this understanding that the willingness to step out and really meet new people and be open to those conversations, to just listen for where there might be a connection in your values and where you might align, to be able to cultivate a relationship with people along the way, because we are evolving so much every day that it's like, yeah, you could pass someone that you had nothing in common with, 5 years ago. And now you could find some things that you're in more alignment with too. So it doesn't really matter the age, I think is where I was going with that. Like to me, just really in my experience, it's been young, old, same age, it doesn't matter. I have found such connection with values that and even the older age people than me, we connect on values and they still are like looking to me for wisdom. And that has always blown my mind to say, like, oh, because of my age, they think I'm, how old are you again? And like all those things. But community is just a huge part of that. So I love that you highlight community again, and how important that has been in your journey of really nurturing this path that you've been on very intentionally, in this season of your life. But okay, so what advice, because we're beginning to wrap up. So what advice would you give someone struggling to embrace change, or they're feeling stuck in their own current season of kind of like that lackluster?
Yeah. Something that I have told myself recently, or reminding myself, is that I'm living in blessings today that used to be
Mm,
prayers.
mm,
So I think about the things that I prayed for 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last week, right? Like today, I'm living in those blessings. And so it encourages me to keep moving forward and to be praying for big things and
mm,
encouraging others, because you never know how those prayers are going to be answered. And so that would be my encouragement to others is, creating a life you love and trusting that journey, because it's going to look different, right? Than maybe what we even thought for ourselves. But there's beautiful things with that. And we surprise ourselves, right? Of these are the things I'm
yeah.
passionate about, as I'm approaching 30, and I'm like, I don't know if I thought about this when I was younger, but I love it. And I love that it's evolving, and truly believe that the best things are ahead of us as we
Mm,
are on this journey, because we're growing, right? We're not going to be the same women that we were 5 years ago. Thank goodness. Right?
yes.
We're going to be wiser. And I've told people they're not older than me, they're wiser than me, Becky. There we go.
Yes.
I was like, I need people who are wiser than me to speak truth into that, into these different circumstances. And yeah, there's a lot of joy and laughter and just good things that come from that.
100%. I love living in the blessings that you once prayed for, right? In the past. I love that reminder of how, yeah, we sometimes we just feel like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? And like, how did I get this life? And like all of those things. And it, um, you know, I mean, you and I, because you're an OP, we know like living on purpose and like deciding the way that we want to cultivate our life and the things that fuel us and deplete us, like making note and paying attention to how we want to move forward with them. It does matter. And I still think that, yeah, taking note of remembering, I still find myself going, how the heck is it today? Like, how am I doing this thing today? And I'm a very intentional person. So, just that extra reminder of those blessings. I love that. So beautiful. Amen to that. That is so true, Erin. So,
And
okay,
celebrating the growth along the way. Yep.
Absolutely. We have to do that because time just keeps going. So whether we're getting to the place that we said we wanted to go or that our heart was calling us to, or we're going this other path that we're just like going with the flow and not really even paying attention, time's going to keep going. We're going to keep moving forward. So making sure that we're celebrating, the progress that we're making and the prayers that are being answered. I mean, that is key right there. That is key. Celebrating the milestones and the progress and the daily wins because it doesn't always feel like we're on the right path, and that brings me to the reminder of it's like a plane, is recalculating or rerouting like a ridiculous amount of percent of the time. Like they're literally off course for a lot of their time in their travel, and then they still like end up. But if they're like 1% off, they're totally like in the ocean where they're not supposed to be, right? So
Great
um,
visual.
yeah, I botched it up, but you know what I mean. You get the idea, right? That it's like it's very important to stay on your path, but being in the ability to follow your journey and also celebrating the milestones along the way is so important. So, Erin, where can the viewers and listeners connect with you? You said you like coffee and connecting with women. Where might they want to follow you on your journey?
Yeah, well, if you are in the like central Wisconsin area, we can definitely connect. We just talked about those in-person connections are fantastic. On Instagram, I am booklove927. And so sharing adventures, you may get to see a picture of my golden doodle or my Springer Spaniel. And yeah, feel free to reach out and would love to connect with you all.
Love it. Thank you, Erin. And then I just want to highlight for the listener to be invited. You are invited to reflect. What seeds of truth do you need to plant today to grow the life that you love? So, from Erin's conversation with me today, what is that for you? I want to thank you for being here today, Erin, for sharing your nuggets of wisdom with us on the show. And I encourage all the listeners to share this episode, to join the Work on Purpose, or sorry, the Choose on Purpose Facebook group, which is a free group where we stay connected in there on Facebook. Erin, thank you for your time and your wisdom today. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Becky. And I am sure this won't be the first or won't be the last time
Yes.
that
Yeah.
we connect.
I love it. I love it. Well, I love you all. And remember to love yourself, live fearlessly, and do all things with purpose. Until next week.